In this lecture, let's discuss the various 3D model file formats supported by Unity. The goal of this section is to design a level. Before we do, it's essential to understand the types of files we'll be working with. If you're working with an artist, you may be handed various file formats. It can be confusing to decide which format to use. Let's explore the various formats supported by Unity. By default, there are 4 official formats for models called FBX, OBJ, DAE, and DXF. These formats can render 3D models. Each format has its pros and cons. Let's go through them together. First up is the FBX file format. FBX is the most popular format in Unity game development. The reason is simple. It's reliable, supports animations, textures, and almost anything you need in a model. The official Unity team recommends this format. Whenever possible, Unity recommends this format over other formats. The downside to FBX files is their file size. They're very large compared to the other formats. The second file format is called OBJ. I consider this format to be a decent alternative to FBX files. They're also reliable, but produce a smaller file size. The only downside to this format is the lack of support for animations. This format is perfect for objects that don't need to be animated. You may prefer this format for specific models, such as generic objects. The third file format is called DAE. It's similar to FBX, except it's open source. The FBX file format is a proprietary format by a company called Autodesk. If you're not a fan of working with a proprietary format, you may consider using DAE files. It's completely open source. The last format is called DXF. This is a very old format. It was designed for sharing files between different programs. Collaboration is always important for teams. This format is commonly used with CAD applications. It's not a format we'll be using. This brings us to the question, which format will we be using? The answer is FBX. Unity strongly recommends this format. It's the most flexible option despite the large file size. Generally speaking, the trade-off is worth it. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to Unity's documentation on supported model file formats. I recommend giving it a read. It'll provide additional information on supported and unsupported file formats. If you were to look through the imported assets from this course, most of the files are FBX. We shouldn't have a problem using these models in our game. In the next lecture, let's explore how Unity imports our models.